All right, welcome to Mediation. You guys are kicking off the premiere of Mediation.
Nice.
Maybe we'll change the name. I don't know.
I like mediation.
I like it. It's Mediation.
It's like mediation.
So you guys had a fight.
Yes.
Great. Not great. Sorry. I'm sorry you're fighting. But also thank you for your generosity. I'm curious who wants to start telling the story. You come to and then you realize, motherfucker's still playing video games.
Yes, sir. He was. And I walked out here like all, I'm sure, pathetic looking. And he was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I had a nightmare.
You tell him about the dream. He continues to not be perfect by patting you on the head. Did you really pat her on the head?
Woke up at 6:30. Still not in bed.
Going forward, do not overpromise and underdeliver.
So the issue is when it's taco night.
It has led to more issues than you would expect.
Hey, I just want to.
You have our attention, please proceed.
You have our attention.
Yeah.
So there's some control issues going on.
Yeah.
But like if Abby wanted to throw Kurt a bone, tacos would be a real easy one.
I don't think you've ever really told me how being in the kitchen makes you feel. Because that's how I feel when I go and I watch my movies and play video games. I don't think I'd ever heard you describe it like that.
We're just here to save marriages,
We just fucking mediated.
You're crazy.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting and new special Viall Files episode. I've been teasing about it. Naz Perez is back.
Hello, everyone.
She's back. She hasn't left.
Hi. I'm really excited to be
If
here.
you're tuning in for Taylor Thomason, she unfortunately had a last-minute issue come up. She will be back on this show. We can't wait to have her. And because Naz was here recording the recap when we found out that Taylor couldn't make it, she stepped in, and helped us launch this new segment that we're doing on our interviews. This episode is going to be different than normal because, well, one, we had this emergency, and then we've been toying with this idea for some time. This show started with one episode a week, and it was our interviews, and we did our Ask Nicks at the end, and they were so popular they turned into a new episode. But a lot of people like the dynamic, and we're going to keep the Ask Nick the way the Ask Nick is. Long form conversations, people calling in, sharing their stories from their perspective to their situation. Long stories of this is what happened, this is the situation I'm in, and then I share.
Right.
We're introducing mediation.
What's mediation?
Mediation. It's a segment. We just call it. We like mediation.
You yourself said in this episode that you liked it.
I'm still listen. It's
He's asking.
We
for
landed
our
on Viall
opinion.
Files and Ask Nick, and it's fine. But those are neither of which are my favorite names for this show or that segment. So before we jump on and call it mediation forever,
Are there other words that you guys think would work better than mediation?
we're just penciling it in, and we can. The audience, feel free to. If we want to call this segment something different.
Yeah, you guys chime in and say.
I was
What do
thinking,
you think it
because
should be
it's
called?
couples calling in usually. So then I was like, what if we did a three's a crowd, or three's a crowd source, because we're crowdsourcing other
Couple qualms.
Menage a trois.
We just listened to couple qualms.
Every idea is a good idea. First,
There's no bad ideas.
I
in
want to say thank
brainstorming.
you for
Nick
that
never
idea.
likes my ideas.
That's not true.
I liked it.
Thank you.
You have a lot of great ideas.
Nick told me once, he was like, you know what, Allie, you're a solid hitter. You get ones and twos. But, every now and again, Amanda gets a home run.
When did I say this?
First of all, Moneyball. That's a great Moneyball. Moneyball, Allie. So that's not testing.
Either way.
But I also disagree. You hit home runs.
Thanks.
Also,
Aw.
either way, when you build a team, if I'm the GM in this analogy, you need
I'm
your
the
singles.
solid hitter.
You need your hitter who hits for average, and you need the long ball.
Yeah.
Both equally important
Good
to the
job. We
team.
both-
Both are
Good
part
team.
of the team. Oh, love this.
And every once in a while, your person who hits for average will still hit 5 or 6 dingers a year. And, the home run hitter sometimes strikes out a little more often.
Yeah.
It is true. I mean, if you got,
I
if you
also
hit a lot
not
of home
saying
runs,
that's how I describe you. But good analogy.
love it. Well, so for today, it's mediation.
Today we're calling it mediation.
And this was born out of the idea of Ask Nick?
Sure. Well, our Ask Nicks are very popular.
Right.
People like them. But there's other types of ways we can use this type of skill.
Right.
And we spend so much time with individuals and they're like situations that have been going, they're usually long situations that have been going on. And if it's like a one-off with a friend, there's usually a lot of backstory.
Oh, the context.
The context is there. And it's
Context
great.
is
We
important.
love it.
Right.
And usually, there's a deep-rooted problem or whatever. And this is mediation because we in relationships and fights, like every couple has little bickers and fights. And maybe there's an onion to peel back. Maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just taco night.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just about like clearly you put water in it. Like it's not to.
This is really nice and fun for you because you get to now hear two sides of a story. When Ask Nick, you're basically going based off information from just one person.
Well, not only that, but the Ask Nick is again more backstory and it's seeing a situation a little more honest. And this, as we found out from our 2 pilot ones, which really went well. I was honestly never really sure how these go. There was some context and we peeled it back, but it was really about, the specific fight and then hopefully a solution. Roses are red, violets are blue. Don't let your wild pube wreck you. You heard it here first. Listen, I'm so glad Manscaped is back as a friend of the show because I might be Manscaped's best customer. Changed my life, changed my relationship. I'll be honest. I'm assuming many of you're dating a guy who does one of 2 things. 1, he doesn't do anything down there, or 2, he maybe uses your scissors or some sort of beard trimmer he has. Men, we're disgusting creatures. And Manscaped is revolutionizing the way men can groom and take care of themselves, starting with the under area.
But as someone who's endured, waxing, laser hair removal, I don't have any forgiveness for that.
Well, that's the thing, though, too, is Manscaped makes it so easy for men. They have their trimmer is specifically designed for that area. The Lawnmower 4.0, this electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin. Yeah. Where might you need that? And get this, the trimmer's advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate balls. It's truly remarkable. I can't recommend it enough. I'm their best customer. Have your man be their best customer too. And quite frankly, they will really appreciate it. They just don't know any better. Just help them out. So you can help them out and get 20% off and free shipping with code VIALL at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code VIALL. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day. I can't tell you enough. Just get it. It'll save your relationship. Let us know what you guys think before we jump into our callers. I know this won't be like a traditional interview episode, but let's touch base on a couple of things. One, Naz, you mentioned at the end of the Bachelor recap, you started Heartbroken Anonymous. Mm-hmm. My one question for you on that is, before we get into our pop culture passions, with Heartbroken Anonymous, is there an out? Like if someone comes to Heartbroken Anonymous because it's a community for people dealing with heartbreak, and I don't know much about Alcohol Anonymous other than like, once you identify as an alcohol, I believe you're always
an alcoholic.
You're just in
you
the
could be sober,
yeah.
but you're still an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Are you asking if people graduate from this program?
Yeah. So like, if we're using that analogy, like hopefully you're not always in heartbreak. There is a graduation from it because maybe the idea of if you're heartbroken, the implication you can be healed. And once you're healed, like certainly there will be, that's why, like there's a difference between like a wound and a scar. You can have a scar, sure, but it's still healed maybe, maybe the scar, for using analogies, but what is your kind of out, or like, how does Heartbroken Anonymous have like a graduation program?
I love this question. Thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. Cause we are not a 12-step program in the sense where a support group like AA will help you sort of get, and like you said, graduate through that thing that you're dealing with. Heartbroken Anonymous was born out of a stranger telling me about their heartbreak and being more comfortable talking to me about it than their own friends and family. And I was like, whoa, that's so wild. Here's this girl telling me like the deepest, darkest parts of her soul. She can't talk to her mom or her sister about it. There's power in being around strangers and being able to release. And then I also realized, like, in my own heartbreak, which I had months later after meeting this stranger and learning the concept of telling strangers just makes you feel safe, is that I went through a heartbreak and I had nightmares. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. It was just so all mentally consuming. And I started going to therapy, and therapy was like $175, $200 a session. And I was like, who has $800 a month to feel better? This is insane. I started doing all this research online, and I found that the same part of your brain that lights up when you're going through emotional pain is the same part of your brain that lights up when you're going through physical pain. And I was like, oh, so you're telling me that like heartbreak can literally feel like a blow and a punch to your stomach. Like that is how my brain is registering this pain. And when I say heartbreak, again, like I mentioned in the former podcast, it's not a girl getting dumped by a guy. The definition of heartbreak, if you Google it, is overwhelming distress, which could be racial injustice. It could be losing your job. It could be the loss of a dream, heartbreak within yourself. Fights, friendship breakups are literally some of the biggest heartbreaks I see come through the group. And so when I realized that, I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we could put people together to share stories? And so to answer your question, Nick, I'm not in the fixing business because I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm in the relief business. And I believe we as human beings on this earth just want relief. I remember when I was going through my breakup, I would literally Google how to get a Taurus man back because I'm like into astrology. And having like, gone through that and looking back at that years ago, I'm like, oh, I was just looking for relief. I just wanted to feel understood. I wanted to feel heard. Taking that, knowing also the science behind being around strangers. So this man named Nick Epley did this incredible study on the Chicago transit system where he surveyed people before their work commute. And so when they would get on the subway car, they would most people look for a seat by themselves, right? Because we think it's going to be more peaceful to sit by ourselves and we don't want to be around anyone. And so they surveyed people after their commute on people who sat by themselves and people who sat next to strangers. And the people who sat next to strangers reported feeling happier. You just did. They did another study at MIT where they put 2 pieces of chocolate in a room. And if you went in and ate it by yourself, Nick, and then me and Amanda went in it right after you, we actually would report it tasting more delicious, just sharing chocolate with someone else. So I was taking all this stuff in my head where I was like, I don't have a lot of money to feel better. I don't want to go to therapy. I want to go to therapy. I can't afford it. I think therapy is necessary for some people if that's what you think is right for you. How can I create something that can be like in addition, that can create relief? I'm not here to sort of fix your heartbreak, but I'm here to remind you that you're not alone. We're in a loneliness epidemic. Vivek Murthy, who was the 19th Surgeon General of the United States under Obama, their job is to literally tour the United States and pick the one thing that they're going to sort of tackle during the presidency, right? Sometimes we've heard this. It's been drugs. Some surgeon generals are like, obesity. We got to tackle obesity. In 2016, it was loneliness, and no one's talking about it. 1 in 4 Americans live alone. And I grew up in the 90s where if my parents were at work late, Nick, like my mom dropped me off at my neighbor's house and we were all friends and we would talk to people. And now people don't want to get to know their neighbors. And so you throw a pandemic on top of that, and heartbreak is just the most isolating thing in the world. And you can be heartbroken over anything all the time, to also answer part of your question. You can heal over, a breakup with it if you broke up with some guy, but you can also be heartbroken over losing your job a month later. So in summation, Heartbroken Anonymous is a place where you can come, you can share. Sharing is not required, but it's encouraged. You share your story, you listen to other people's stories. There's no crosstalk allowed. And it has been fascinating to just hear the amount of stories and the amount of diversity and how everyone is just feeling alone. Under violence, under heartbreak, under addiction, under depression, I believe is loneliness. And so that's really the point of it. During the end of each meeting, we share something we're grateful for. So it's not sort of like ending in this like, ugh. And the one requirement to have membership in Heartbroken Anonymous is to have hope. And hope is a faith that good can be derived from painful situations and lead to personal growth. And so that's sort of what the ethos of Heartbroken Anonymous is. It's why I started it. And in the pandemic, we went virtual, and now people from all over the world join. And it's even better because now people can join without their camera on. You can be even more anonymous. But I'm doing them in person, and I always do one on holidays because that can be a hard day.
Sure.
And Valentine's Day, our meeting's coming up where I think I'm going to do a hybrid meeting where you can join on Zoom or in person if you guys are in LA. You know, I'm here to remind you you're not alone. And there's also a lot of science behind listening to someone else's story. You mattering, when we feel like we matter and we listen to someone else, you feel like you matter. You matter to this person who had no one else to talk to, and you're here in the meeting for them. And mattering feels good. And so you leave the meeting not only reminding yourself that you're not alone, because when we go through any type of heartbreak, I feel like I picture Charlie Brown with like the cloud over our head where we just think everything's happening to us. Like, I can't talk right now, friend that's calling me. Like, I'm dealing with this guy not texting me back. And like, that's all the time. And it's like, when you go to a meeting like this, you're like, whoa, no, everybody is dealing with this. This is not just happening to me. And so you feel a sense of community. You feel like you're giving back. You feel like you matter, and it makes you feel good, and you feel a little less alone. And if I can make people feel better for an hour, to me, that makes all the difference.
That's great. So how do people, because I think that was a really important distinction, you know, like say, for example, like the show or the Ask Nicks, and people are coming in asking for advice. They're not, because it offers unique, just the ability to vent or grieve or offer like relief, just let it out.
Right.
That's nice that you have that space. It's not necessarily for like, it's not counseling, or you don't have, you know, that's really, So how do people be comfortable with being alone? Because we talk about that a lot. It's important to get in to know yourself, all while dealing with loneliness. You know, because those are two different. You can be alone and not feel lonely. You can be amongst friends and family and feel lonely.
100%.
So what have you learned as someone who's been kind of
as an observer
of loneliness?
Yeah, and as a participant, as someone who's been really lonely
of things that are causing loneliness more, and then a takeaway to feel less lonely regardless of your situation.
Yeah, I love that question, Nick. You're really good at asking questions. Thanks for asking that. I think what I've learned is there's so much shame around loneliness. I think like as somebody who was and has been lonely and is lonely often, I had to ask myself, like, why am I so embarrassed to like admit I'm lonely? What's so like scary about this word? And I've thought about the way that people who aren't lonely perceive the lonely. So for example, if we can all sort of close our eyes and remember being in middle school and like all the popular kids being at that lunch table and you being alone, people think loneliness is like contagious, right? Like, oh, we don't want to hang out with Susan. Like, she's lonely. I'm going to catch it. And so it's like both sides not working together, right? I'm over here and I'm scared to admit I'm lonely. And it's because a lot of people who aren't lonely, like, don't really know how to deal with it or do anything with it. So what is the resolution? I think the resolution is, and I hate using the word normalize because we see it in memes all the time, but it's like, in a sense, normalize feeling lonely, saying, hey, like, do you want to hang out? Like, I've been feeling kind of lonely lately and I just want someone to be around, but maybe I don't even need you to talk to me. Maybe it would just be really nice if you wanted to hang out. And it's like, oh yeah, like I've been feeling lonely too, actually. Like I'm in a relationship, but like, I don't know, maybe it's like one of the callers that we have later on in the podcast where like, it's just me and the dog and he works all the time. And so I think just the more we talk about it and we normalize it, and we recognize that loneliness is a thing that is plaguing people, and it's especially plaguing America. Really, really bad. It's plaguing the UK. The UK administered a minister of loneliness. And that's why you guys can like all Google this. People die of loneliness. And there's moments where doctors, and Vivek says this in his incredible book called Together, if you guys have a chance to read it, where he was realizing that doctors weren't really taught how to deal with like the emotional side of pain when they're dealing with a patient. You know, they can like give medicine. And that was really what Heartbroken Anonymous was born out of, is that why is it that when I stub my toe and it's not feeling good, I can go to the doctors, get a doctor's note, say, hey, job, I'm not feeling well. Here's a note to prove it. I don't have to come in. But when we're going through a divorce, a friendship heartbreak, we've had a miscarriage, we're expected to wake up the next day and resume life as is. And I think it's just a matter of having the discussion of how do we want to talk about and treat loneliness and heart, which is under all of that heartbreak and all the stuff I've said. How do we move forward? And it's getting better. People are talking about it, right? But it's also being done in a very commercial way, you know, and like it's a lot of graphics and memes on Instagram, which are great, but a lot of it, again, is giving advice. And can we be more compassionate and just like sit back and listen? And I think that's what I really learned is that being a producer on The Bachelor is, can I just sit back and listen and give back to my community and let them sort it out and not sort of be like the ringleader in the middle of the circus, you know, Hugh Jackman, Greatest Showman, and be like, this is what you all need to do to feel better. What if it's just okay that we all feel shitty, but at least we're not doing it by ourselves?
But hopefully we
have hope. Hope is the faith that can be derived from painful situations, lead to personal growth. And listen, that heartbreak that fucking ruined me was the reason I started Heartbroken Anonymous. And so that's really the hope that I hope people instill, is that we do learn so much. And instead of thinking of heartbreak as something bad, think of it as like breaking your heart open. And we all learn how to love ourselves more after any type of heartbreak, whether it's being rejected by a job or by our parent that never loved us the way we wanted to, or by a romantic partner, right? It's like, it's actually not a bad thing in retrospect years later.
Who do we think is more heartbroken, Jason Momoa or...
And this is the pop culture segment.
Nick, you are so good at what you do. You really are. That was amazing. Incredible segue. I opened Raya so fast when that popped up.
It's like, no.
And then I saw a meme right after that was like, I don't know who needs to tell you this, but you do not have a shot with Jason Momoa. And I was like, why did this have to come up on my timeline?
I don't know. Naz, you live in LA.
Do you think I have a shot?
I think you have a shot.
Yeah.
I think I do.
If he heard you say what you just said, I think he'd be like, wow.
I know
that's
nothing about Jason Momoa, but and maybe he's like got a like I only date celebs kind of policy, and no judgment. Maybe he just feels safer. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
But what if Jason came to a meeting?
Maybe.
Well, I do cover film and television.
That's not, I don't know. I mean, that's how she can meet him.
Yeah.
But like in a maybe more organic way, because he won't realize this because, you know, maybe you're not an actor or someone he's worked with, but you know what it's like to deal with celebrities. You know what it's like to, you can know how to relate. So then he'll feel safe around you. And then you might, I don't know his like interest in women or his taste or whatever, but like, I can see it.
And then they can make Nick the best man.
Wow, guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
Nick, and then you would be my best man.
I would not
100%.
be your best man, though. That would just...
You don't think you'd be Jason Momoa's best man, Nick?
No.
Come on, believe in yourself.
I love this man effect. And you know what? I believe it. Maybe it's already done. Maybe I've already dated Jason and that's how I'm going to act. But can I just say the Kravitz family, I don't know what gene they got, but like they are the coolest people in the entire world. Like talk about being cool without even trying to be cool. Every single Kravitz member that walks on this planet Earth. And I'm just not as cool as them. But I am pretty cool.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like a self-acceptance vibe from all the Kravitz family. Like, it's so much more. They're so cool.
It could be
so many
like
ways.
the
So
incredible
cool.
talent and God-given gifts that they've been blessed with
It's not
from their like physical features to musical talent.
So multiple tattoos.
But there's a lot of people like that. Okay, it's also the tats. I would
It's
say
the
it's
tats.
the tats and self-acceptance is the X factor. Because there's a lot of people who have the other stuff too.
Yeah.
But there's something about the way it's all combined in them that is
listen,
magnificent.
I'm almost at self-acceptance. So maybe I'll get a couple tattoos over the weekend and throw my name in the hat.
Do you think he's in specific? Do you know if he's specifically into tattoos?
I mean, I think
Everyone is.
I think who's not into tattoos?
Megan Fox, Machine Gun Kelly got engaged.
They got
there
engaged.
There we go. We did a pop culture segment.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Nick?
Good for them.
You've never had such short words and opinions over like
One could
that.
argue that they've been moving at an incredible rate of speed, and what's the relationship look like when things tend to inevitably slow down? That's always the risk. You know, you could equate their relationship to one that started out of Bachelor Nation. Does that, you know, and a lot of some relationships have blossomed, and that started in Bachelor Nation.
What do you think's the key to longevity in a public relationship?
Make it not public.
Make it not public. So
You have to play like
Have-
a Taylor
Interesting.
Swift.
Have privacy.
interesting, yeah.
Like
Have a lot
Taylor
of
and Her Boy.
privacy. in your otherwise public relationship?
I will say other celebrities, fun fact, that have had 2 stones on their engagement ring are still together, and that is Ariana and Dalton Gomez.
Interesting. Natalie
Emily
sent me a
Ratajkowski.
photo of a 2-stone engagement ring.
Emily Ratajkowski and her husband are still together, and they
Yeah.
have 2 stones, and now Megan and MGK. So maybe the 2 stone is the key. Maybe that's
Maybe.
Thanos's
Natalie asked me if
Infinity Stone.
if she ever crosses the line with like engagement talk or future relationship planning,
Mhm.
and which made me think. I said she walks that rope perfectly.
She's stealth.
It's like
what? So what does she do? Does she send it to you on Instagram like that 2 stone, or she's just like, oh, this just came up?
she does it playfully, and there's a timing of which it's not like an inundation of like constantly, and it's never like I never feel like, but it's just and I know the breadcrumbing words being used is like a trigger warning for relationships, but it's just a soft breadcrumb of like guiding me down a path for whenever that time comes, but I don't feel pressure, and I don't feel like there's an
That's great.
expectation, but it's
amazing.
you know,
Can I ask you a question?
sure.
How do you feel about women proposing to the man? Because
Nowadays?
we did a podcast on it, and I was fascinated.
Not
That was really cool.
me now today. I go fuck.
Would you want to be proposed to?
Sure. Do I want to? I don't care.
You don't care. Like, it's so indifferent. Not
As
yes or
long
no.
as it's understood that I was ready.
Mm.
I also know like some gay couples, they'll both propose to each other. And of course, it's like, yes, someone's going to propose first. That's different than someone proposing second. But I think that's kind of beautiful. And I think that's something
Sure.
all couples could adopt.
I love that.
I mean, when it comes to like traditional, like a lot of traditional things in relationships, like the more we talk about relationships, the less traditional I get.
Mhm.
And marriage, I mean, it is just something we now do because we have always done.
Mm. So you
you
think
know.
it's a little outdated, maybe?
Sure. Of course. I still think there's a value there. And as long as we kind of adjust it, every relationship, everyone for themselves, but the expectation of having a marriage the way our ancestors or even parents had
I know,
it, I
it's
think
so
is
creepy.
I think is
It is
it's
kinda
becoming
creepy.
more and more absurd. And unless we want to maintain the level of divorce rate that marriages currently have, drastic changes need to be met. So like I do not need to get married to feel validated with my life that I accomplished some sort of goal.
Love that.
But I would love to get married to have that bond with one
Right.
individual that is worthy of marriage.
yeah, it carries meaning for you. You want to make that oath out of love, not out
Yeah.
of obligation.
Let's preview. Let's reveal the new segment. I don't know.
Let's premiere
Premiere. Thank you.
mediation
For
now until the name
Working title.
changes in a
until the name changes. And again, we'll probably just have one mediation per guest. I don't know. Let us know what you guys think. We're going to play around with it, trying something new. Got to keep things fresh. Here you go. How's it going, guys?
It's good.
Good.
What are your names?
I'm Sarah. I'm 23.
And I'm Ryan. I'm also 23.
All right. Welcome to Mediation. You guys are kicking off the premiere of
Oh,
Mediation. Maybe we'll change the name. I don't know.
I like
I
mediation.
like it. It's Mediation.
It's like mediation.
So you guys had a fight.
Yes.
Great. Not great. Sorry. I'm sorry you're fighting, but also thank you for your generosity. How long you guys been together? Just a couple quick, let's get some context here.
We've been together for over 2 years, and we've been engaged for 5 months.
Oh, congratulations. Do you guys live together?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Okay.
We live together.
All right. Set the stage. I'm curious who wants to start telling the story.
I'll let you go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So before the day, he works overnight. So he'll work from 10 p.m. till 8 a.m. And I work a normal person's hours. So I work from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m.
We'll call them
So-
traditional hours.
Traditional hours.
We don't
yeah.
want the third shift to feel like they're not normal.
Yeah.
I'm just helping you out.
We also
Sarah.
don't want to offend all the influencers, Nikki's
That's
friends
true.
Yeah.
I work
too, who
Yeah.
don't work.
I'm
those
normal.
hours.
traditional hours. I work
I'm just kidding.
from
Sarah.
about 9 to 4. So that being said, he sleeps from about 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. around there. So we don't get a lot of time together because he leaves for work about 9:30. So on average, we get to spend like 2.5 to 3 hours together per day,
Wow.
which is not a lot.
It's not
And
great.
then
It's not ideal.
not ideal. And then he works some weekends. So
What do you do for work?
I'm actually a production supervisor for a Gatorade plant.
Okay, well, interesting. Fascinating.
All of
work.
a sudden, my thirst was quenched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Production supervisor for a Gatorade plant.
Doing really important work to get us our Gatorade.
Yeah.
I love that it's called
Working
a.
through the night to get us Gatorade.
I
Yeah.
also love that it's called a plant. It made me think of like Peter Griffin in Family Guy. It's like
Yes.
you go to like the
I
Gatorade.
interned at Miller Brewing in supply chain, and they have plants and they brew. Hey, we're getting off topic. Thanks for your service.
and potential Gatorade sponsors.
Yeah. All right. So you guys don't get to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah. So this was on a Friday. He was supposed to work that weekend. So he works on a weekend, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I get home from work, do the usual, like take the dog out, whatever. And we had planned in the short amount of time we had before he had to go into work that night to go get food at this place, like just down the corner, go out to get dinner, maybe stoke up a little bit of our weekend. And so when he woke up, he got a text saying that he didn't have to go into work that night, but he will have to go Saturday night. So we had a bonus night that we got like gifted that we usually don't get. And especially on a weekend where he wasn't working and he was supposed to work like 2 weekends back to back. So this was like a great bonus. So we go out to dinner, we come home and we watched a movie or whatever. And it's like 12:30 or so. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed because I've been up since like 7 or so. So I'm going to go to bed. And he turned on the Xbox. He's like, oh, I'm just going to play for a little while, like hour and a half or something, like 1:30. And I was like, okay, sounds reasonable. He slept his full 8 hours already during the day, but usually like on a weekend or whatever, he'll like sleep all night and then take a nap and then go to work. So usually not that big of a deal. So he said, I'll be in at like 1:30. I'm like, cool. Sounds good. Left the door open for the dog because she'll come in with me or whatever. So I wake up from a nightmare, like in a cold sweat at like 3:30.
Oh no.
And he was not, as dumb as it is, my brother and I getting into a fight, like in this, like in a club. It was very, very weird. But
a lot of my dreams take places in clubs too. I wonder what that
There
means.
is a reason for that. I don't have the answer, but I bet
Yeah,
Ian
usually-
Wallace knows.
So it was more like intense
Yeah.
and just kind of like a stressful dream.
So you woke up,
Woke up and-
assumed the love of your life would be next to you to comfort you.
I assumed, right?
And
no.
she woke up distressed.
Yeah, distressed.
Just-
yeah, uh-huh.
Because you're like this fight with your brother.
And yet he is
Exactly.
not there. And maybe your first thought was like, is he kidnapped? Is he dead? What happened?
Exactly.
You come,
Exactly my first thought.
you come to and then you realize, motherfucker's still playing video games.
Yes, sir. He was. And I was walked out here like all, I'm sure, pathetic looking. And he was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I had a nightmare. And then I like just laid down on the couch next to him. And he like maybe was like patted my head and then
Did you
just
literally
continued
pat
on
her
playing.
head?
Yeah.
Could I also,
that.
so I want to check in. Do you agree so far with the version of this story?
Yeah. I guess the only detail that she hasn't touched on yet is that when I first got on to start playing, I got into like a Xbox party with 2 of my friends that I hadn't talked to in months. Like
Crucial
had
information.
hadn't had a text communication with them, no calls, no Xbox playing or anything. So hopping on with this group of guys,
Catch
and,
up with some friends. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
so
I would argue for men, that is like the one form of catch up I've learned, that a lot of men actually don't call their guy friends, that they connect through video game. I say this in the most sincere way.
Yeah. No, it's I catch up. I have a buddy. The only time we talk is about the Green Bay Packers.
There you go.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's how we and they're at the end, it's like, oh, are you good? Is life good? Yeah, great. Cool. And like that's
Yeah.
you know.
That's not a thing in our world so much.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, so okay. Thank you for that additional important information. Now you woke up, you had the bad dream, and in a perfect world, what would have had happened when you woke up? In your perfect world.
In my perfect world, he would have, if he was still playing the game, maybe paused it and like took off his headphones and said, "What happened?" Or like, "Are you all right?"
So
Maybe
okay, so it
something,
wasn't even so much that he was
acknowledging.
still playing video games. That's not the problem.
I mean, that was a little bit of the problem when you said he'd be in bed at like 1:30 and then it was like 2 hours past that.
And that's because you just like want a warm body sleeping next
Yeah,
to you.
because we don't ever get to sleep together
Sure.
because he works the opposite.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a nice
so,
thing. Yeah.
Well, what I was going to
It's
say.
a rare thing to be able to sleep next to your partner for you guys. And it is a
Yeah.
nice thing that often couples bond over.
And I
Yes.
was going to say, Sarah, not having heard your full side of the story yet, just Sarah's, it's never about the video game, right? It's
Right,
about
exactly.
It's about the fact that you just have this underlying need deep down to want to be around and have quality time with your partner that you don't actually get.
Often,
it wasn't
yeah.
about the video game.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't so much about sleeping because the average couple who gets to spend it every night together have been like, who gives a shit?
And also when you're sleeping, yeah, you're not like with them. But also to your point, and we need to hear so much more of your side of the story, you're living in a reality where this is your only time to connect with these two people you haven't talked to in months. You live with this person and technically see them every day.
Right.
So perfect world, he's sleeping next to you, but you wake up, he's not there. Okay, not so perfect. You tell him about the dream. He continues to not be perfect by patting you on the head. Did you really pat her on the head?
So she didn't really tell me about the dream. She came out, I've got the headphones on, it's, very loud. So I don't really hear what she says. So, I mean, she says she has a nightmare. I don't hear her say that. And then she just gets down on the couch next to me. So I just assume whatever she said wasn't that important for me to hear it a second time or like the clarity of exactly what she had said. So when she sits down next to me, I just assume, okay, because I knew the reason she wanted, me to be in bed with her is for that warm body, as you were mentioning earlier. So once she just, got down laid down next to me, I'm like, okay, she just, wants to be next to me, even if I'm going to keep playing, as long as she's here with me, that's fine. So, I mean, I was kind of like playing with her hair a little bit, kind of, rubbing her cheek and whatnot, just to kind of give her that comfort feel that I thought she was seeking.
And how is the hair rubbing and the cheek rubbing going for you?
Can you guys do it for us here? Can you display maybe?
We don't.
We just
It's
want
okay.
to see some
It's just a little,
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
yeah.
I will.
So romantic.
Can I interject for a second? Because I think as women, and I don't want to speak for all women, I guess I'm just kind of speaking for me and Sarah. I want to know if you feel the same way. It's not about the warm body. It's not about the presence. It's about me wanting you to want to be next to me because we never have time together.
It's the wanting to want to do the dishes.
And Dave playing World of Warcraft can wait till tomorrow because I just had a nightmare. Is that how you feel, Sarah?
Basically, yeah. It's like wanting, yes, not just me being like,
you had me more when it was like, I don't get to sleep next to my fiance very often.
It's all one and the same.
I find it to be two very different. The want you to want to sleep next to me is different than I enjoy being next to you. Is it not?
It's different, but it's two feelings that go hand in hand, I think, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's like, I want to, like, I miss it during the weekdays. Like, do you also, or are you just like perfectly fine having the whole bed to yourself and like, this is inconsequential, like this?
Yeah.
So Sarah,
I understand.
I would then
both.
challenge you to just ask your partner.
Yeah,
that.
I understand
what if you just
both.
Said, do you want to like sleep with me? And he would have been like, I do, but I never get to catch up with these guys. Is it okay if I keep playing for 30 more minutes?
In that moment, yeah, that would be a perfect solution. In that moment, who?
A lot of people do this.
2 a.m, having a nightmare. I mean,
no, not in the moment. You're right. You're right.
But it is an interesting thing you point out that the wanting to want something is a very tricky thing that I think gets a lot of couples in trouble. Because, I mean, let's just start with naming what we want in relationships.
Exactly.
And being upfront. And people in relationships have a hard enough time saying what they want and getting their partners to do it.
Right.
Like, that's hard enough, especially over the years. It's near impossible to go a step further and say, I would love not to communicate with them at all and hope that they do exactly what I want, because that will make me feel even extra special.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying never do that, but like,
That's where all
let's
the
just
issues
start with
come from,
like,
I think. Right?
let's just start with he actually like gets in bed and sleeps next to you. And if not, you find out why and go from there. So anyways, let's get to full story. You play with her, you caress her cheek, and then what did you do, Sarah?
About 10 minutes after that, because I was like, well, I said I had a nightmare. I was ignored. Like, he didn't say a word, right? Like, he kind of like acknowledged my presence, but after that, he was just like talking on the speakers or whatever, talking to his friend. So I just was like, okay, I'm just going back to bed. Like, this is ridiculous. If you're not gonna like comfort, I might as well just go back to sleep. And so I think he said like, I'll be in half an hour or something like that. Right.
Yeah. It was something like that. I did give her, I did
false
say,
expectation.
it won't be,
yeah.
It won't.
I see where this is going.
It won't be much longer. Woke up at 6:30, still not in bed. Come out, and the dog's laying next to him. He's still on the same game, talking to the same people. And I was like, "You've got."
Do they also work at the Gatorade plant, or
no?
They just don't sleep.
So I mean, my one buddy, I guess he's just on. He's just on like,
gotcha.
Kind of just stays up super late on weekends.
You're a good conversationalist, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wouldn't she love to hear some of that conversation? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Wait, but I'm curious to hear your whole side of the story and like what your thought process was the whole time. Because we got up until the point where you said I didn't hear that she said nightmare. You admittedly admit that you didn't really catch on to that and that you told her you'd be in there 30 minutes. What was going on through your mind after that moment?
So once she went back into the room, I was kind of like, well, I guess she's okay in there. I guess in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, she came out here to get comfort after her nightmare. And, I guess she got that comfort. If she didn't, I figured she would have just kept laying there, because, and maybe we were being too loud. I don't know if that was the reason why she, went back into the room and left, but I figured once she had gone back in there, she was like, okay, she got whatever comfort she needed. She was able to go back into the room and fall asleep again and not have this anxiety from that nightmare anymore. And I just, things happen. You just get, carried away. I'm like, okay, it'll only be, 30 more minutes or so. And just, time keeps going on and on, more things keep happening in the game. We keep having conversation. And
can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question? And I want you to try to be as honest as possible. And I'm really putting you on the spot here. But when you said it'll just be 30 more minutes, in your heart of hearts, did you really think it was going to be 30 minutes? Or were you just saying that to her because you thought that's what she needed to hear so she would go back to bed and fall asleep?
No, at the time when I told her, I mean, it seemed like the conversation was kind of dying down.
Okay.
It seemed like we were it was getting towards the end of the night for us. So I was thinking, I don't think, I wasn't expecting to be up that much
later. All right,
later.
so you sincerely tell her 30 minutes and then she falls asleep, but you guys are having you're having fun and you're probably thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, she's sleeping, so like...
that's exactly it.
Why don't I
Yeah. So
like she hasn't come out back here yet. So
So we saw the assumption on your part, which you weren't wrong because that was your reality. Sarah, if you were to look at your partner and finish this sentence, how would you finish it? By starting it by saying it was never about the nightmare. It's actually.
Oh, can I hold on? Can I? That's good. But can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah.
Because I just want to finish was there did you guys fight about this the next morning?
How
was this handled?
Okay, so
how was this addressed?
I got up at like 6 or whatever o'clock, and I was like, seriously, like all night long. Like, you had the whole night to kind of figure this out, and like, I understand you didn't get to talk to these people, whatever. But at some point, you could have turned it off, because then it plays out into our next morning, because we wake up around like 7 or 8 with the dog. And then we have the morning before he has to go back to bed, because he would have slept all night. So he didn't need 8 hours during the day. he would have only needed like 4 or 5. Like he would have needed a shorter amount of sleep
so
before
now
going
he's
back
like,
to work.
babe, I'm tired. I need to go to bed.
Yeah, basically.
Cutting
and
into
he was like,
more
well,
Sarah time.
yeah. So it like leads from the night into the next morning.
Sure.
And he was like, well, I'll come to bed. I was like, it's kind of pointless now. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to sleep for another hour. And then you're going to want to go to bed at 10 in the morning. So I was like, what's the point? So,
Well, I mean, the point is you'd have an hour with your partner who you want to spend more time with.
yeah.
Not ideal. And I'm not saying you didn't have a right to be frustrated. I'm just, if you're asking what the point is, that
Right.
it is an hour and a half of time that you say you don't have. So did you get defensive when she, like, what, how did you guys, was there a fight or were you guys just agreed to be annoyed at each other? Like, was it like a passive aggressive annoyance throughout the day, or was there like an argument that pursued? And where are we now with this issue?
No, I wouldn't say it pursued that much longer. I didn't get defensive after that. You know, I could clearly tell like how upset she was with me for it. And I'm never one to, try to argue with her. Like if I'm in the wrong, I'll apologize, and I'm not gonna how am I trying to
Get
word
defensive.
this? I just,
Yeah.
it wasn't,
Did you feel as if you were in the wrong?
Yeah, I'm not. I can see both sides here. Just
Well, I'm curious if he felt.
yeah,
if
that's
he
what I'm
was in the
curious.
wrong or
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
I feel like yes and no. I feel like knowing how late I did stay up playing with them and like telling her, hey, like I will be there like pretty soon here, like, don't worry about it. So then when I never did show up, that's kind of that doesn't exactly make me look the best, but at the same time, playing Xbox is kind of a way for me to recharge, decompress, kind of just take a break from reality for a little bit. And especially playing with some buddies as well that I just haven't talked to in a while, and catch up with them was nice as well. So it's both ways, but end of the day, once I saw how upset she was about it, like I apologized to her. There was nothing more I could have done. I didn't want to defend myself because I knew it would have probably escalated into a further argument, and I didn't want that to happen.
So what is your guys' plan, if at all?
And Sarah, did you accept the apology?
Yeah, I did. And he ended up coming to bed for like that hour and a half or whatever. But then like you asked, where are we now? So then again, like this morning had some extra time, and he got up with the dog, took her out, and then spent 3 hours on the Xbox in the morning while I was doing like my regular chores. And I was like, well, this is where it's like annoying.
So right now we don't have a plan to avoid this going forward.
No.
Well, I think we also don't have an honest exchange of what's actually going on. Like I said, underneath the video game and underneath your time with your friends that you really need. Like you work a lot, like that. Those are strenuous hours on any human being. When a man comes home, he needs to go be in his masculine so that he can come out and be in his masculine and you can be in your feminine. And men need that time away, which is why I would love for you to just say it was never about the nightmare. It's actually blank, because then we'll find out how he feels about that. Maybe he says, well, listen, I'm always going to need this time with my boys on the video game. And then that's another bridge you guys have
just
to
out of curiosity, you guys telling the story to us, are you guys learning new bits of information about the other person's point of view, or have you already had this kind of conversation?
I feel like a little bit, like it's definitely easier now because this was like 2 weeks ago maybe, so it's definitely like a little less like emotional than just waking up and like having this conversation. So like the fact that he truly didn't hear me changes a little, but it's more like for me frustrated that like he said this amount of time, or like I will be there and then you're not, and then I will be there and then you're not.
But we need a plan going forward, right?
Yes.
There's no plan.
No.
Right.
Because without a plan, this will only get worse.
Yeah.
Help me out. But like, here's where I think that's it. You both have a problem, right? Your problem, Sarah, is that not only do you want time with your partner, and rightfully so, that you, and to Naz's point, you don't want him loving you to feel like a chore.
Yeah.
Who wants that? No one wants that. You want someone to want to love you. That's part of feeling love, that it's like they enjoy loving you, you know? So, and you having to remind him of this sometimes feels like you have to, like, it's not, now I don't, like, fine, you're in bed, but now it doesn't feel like you want to be here.
Right.
And
Right.
now you're stealing that from me.
And your inconsistency with not falling in line with your word is making me feel like I'm not getting that love that I need.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I don't want to put words in.
So that's your problem that he needs to be aware of. Ryan, your problem that Sarah needs to be mindful of is that, like, and then you have this job. Your job is what it is, and for the time being, that is your job. And maybe I'm assuming that maybe you don't want to do that forever, or at least the schedule. But for now, that's the hand that the relationship has been dealt. And man, like, yeah, I don't know if I need to be on my masculine side, but I do need, like, decompressing. I do like to just be on my phone. Your video games is me on the phone looking at Packer Twitter. And I just need that sometimes, right? And you guys need to put some boundaries and expectations or when video time, game time, and quality time happens. But Ryan needs to feel like he's not being instructed what to do, like he has all these fucking rules, like you're his parent, Sarah. Or
made to feel guilty for doing something that
he
relieves
enjoys
stress for him,
yeah.
and that he actually needs to be a good partner.
Or feel maybe emasculated that he's like, hey guys, well, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to do this. Sarah doesn't let me. You'd hate that, right? And then
Right.
Sarah, like, you want, and again, correct me if I'm wrong at any point here, but like, yeah, you don't want to set so many boundaries where it's like you've set all these rules. Where now, like, you've basically stolen any chance away from you feeling like he even wants to do this. Like,
Yeah.
So you guys have to first recognize, Ryan, I want you to feel loved. That is a priority for me. This is the job that we have. I'm going to want to say no to this. And then Sarah, empathize with the fact that he might need to decompress. And going forward, just number one, Ryan, like, do not overpromise and underdeliver. You need to be very mindful, Ryan, that when you are spending time with Sarah, and I don't know exactly how but you need to go out of your way to make it feel like I don't know if you do this, but like you definitely making her like the huffing and puffing or reminding her what you gave up for her is not, and people make that mistake all the time. They'll want to like remind their partner of what they're giving up for them as a way to be like, I'm doing this for you. And all that does is come across as you're making me fucking do this for you. And it doesn't come across the way you hope it does. And she's not receiving it the way you hope she is. It just sounds like she has to. So when you give up the video games or whatever it is, like, be present and make her feel like the only thing you want to be doing right now is sleeping next to her. And Sarah, you just have to trust him, even though I'm telling him to essentially fake it. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I'm saying? You just really have to like do that. And you, Sarah, have to find a way to recognize that unfortunately the job is what it is. And not only like he can only be that person that we just described if he still feels like he can have some independence and some alone time and some time alone in his thoughts, because he can't do that at work. And with you, like, he loves being with you and talking with you about stuff, but like we all want our own alone time, and my guess is you have the ability to have more of you time than he has time for himself. And you guys have to figure out and set some boundaries around like how you guys are going to do that. And definitely, Ryan, you have to respect those boundaries because it will really get you in trouble. And then you guys will just resent each other. So I think the goal here is to not resent each other going forward, because this is such a little thing. And I love that you guys were our first call for mediation, because like the video game playing,
It's amazing.
it's like the universal like issue with young couples.
I also love that you guys are like 23 and like coming on and doing this together. And I think it's like really brave and honest.
Sarah, cover your ears for a second. Take the earphone off. Ryan, Sarah can't hear me, everyone. Send her like, text messages throughout the day or FaceTime her while you're working. And just like those little things will just go the longest way. Just thinking about you, blah, blah, blah. And you'll get more video game time. I promise. If you just like let her know that you're thinking of her while she's feeling lonely during the day. All right. You can give it back to Sarah.
Yeah.
That was really sweet, Nick.
I just lectured him about something. Anyway, yeah, I don't know if I think in some of these mediations, there might be you're totally wrong and you're totally right. But I feel like this is just a very common, relatable, like.
I think actually in most mediations, you're both right to feel the way you feel. How do we come together and fix it so you guys can move forward in a loving, what's the word I'm looking for? In a good way.
All right.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel? I don't know. We're just a couple podcast people just sharing our opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's because we talked about it before we came on, and we're like, do you think they're gonna like obviously pick like if one of us was clearly in the right and the other was in the wrong, and we kind of both were like, that I feel like they would probably pick you, Sarah. So just it's interesting. It didn't play out, I guess, exactly the way I was expecting.
No, yeah. Unless like someone called them and maybe I hope they do of like some. I mean, I hope we get a variety.
Nick's ready for that.
I hope we get a variety of stuff, but no, these are the most beneficial.
Yeah,
because the idea of this mediation thing is like, you guys seem like a relatively happy couple. Things are going great, but like, fuck, people fight, people disagree. It's hard to, and there's always like other reasons for the things that lead up to the thing that you're talking about.
The underlying reason. And it's hard to communicate how you feel in a non-predatorial way, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm feeling lonely, so you have to do this so I don't feel lonely anymore. It's about like, this is how I feel. How can we come together? And productive was the word I was looking for. And move forward in a loving and productive way.
There you go. All right. Well, hopefully it was helpful. Thanks, guys.
Nice meeting you, Ryan and Sarah.
All best of luck. Let us know if you guys are still in love down the road.
And thank you for everything you do. We love Gatorade over here.
Yeah.
BT does.
Thanks, Gatorade. Take care, guys. How's it going?
What's up?
It's going well.
Hello.
Who do we have with us?
I'm Abby, and this is Kurt.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Hi, guys.
How old are you guys?
I am 26.
And I am 29.
Okay. How long have you guys been together?
About 4 years.
All right. Yeah, live together, live separately?
Together.
All right. Who's telling the story? Who's starting?
I'll tell it.
Okay. Yeah, you do it.
2 for 2 so far. And
yeah.
Right.
So I don't know if you want both issues we have, but so the issue is when it's taco night and we're making the taco meat.
Taco night.
I say all the meat should be cooked first, then you add the seasoning. That way you can ensure like all the meat is browned. Seasoning's not going to alter anything. He says that the seasoning should be added as you're cooking it.
God, I can't wait to be in a relationship.
A serious question though, like, is this like an actual point of contention?
Yeah.
It has led to more issues than you would expect.
Hey, I just want to.
You have our attention. Please
you
proceed.
have our attention. I have a strong opinion on
taco meat
tacos.
and seasoning.
And I took great part of my tacos. Nellie and I have taco night at least twice a week.
Okay.
And I cook my tacos like Abby. Kurt, what is your reasoning for this bizarre way in which you cook tacos?
Bizarre. Okay. Well, I see
Are you
where
a chef?
we're landing already.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I can't wait till like an actual chef writes the email and tells us that Kurt's right.
There's no right or wrong way to make tacos.
My reasoning is that you have to get the seasoning in there as it's cooking so that it all breaks down. It's all part of the flavor, and you're not just sprinkling it on top and you have a powdery seasoned mess.
Once you put the seasoning in, how much water do you apply to the ground beef or whatever your protein is?
I don't put any in.
No water either.
No water.
Okay, that's.
Can we get to the part where this is affecting their relationship and why?
Well, that sounds nuts.
Because you have been transparent, I should be transparent. I don't like to cook. I think it's very dangerous and it's a hazard, and people cut their fingers all the time, and we don't talk about it enough, how dangerous the kitchen is. But if I were to make tacos, I would do it the Kurt way.
All right. And I actually do it in between. I use ground beef. I cook the meat till I could eat it without any more. If I wanted to just eat ground beef cooked, I could. I wouldn't have it would be fully cooked. It would be medium well to well done.
Right.
Right. And then I add the seasoning, and then I basically put enough water in that it's kind of, it looks like soup at first. And then I have the burner on and keep stirring it. So it simmers, it gets in the ground beef, and it evaporates to the point where it's just the consistency you might enjoy. So it's fully flavored, fully mixed. It's not watery at all. And that allows me to cook the other things I'm preparing.
Okay.
Honestly, that's
I just use the natural grease, I guess, left over from the meat being cooked instead of adding water.
So, and I'm assuming you both learned from your parents how to do this, but why can't you guys, why are you both, and this is the crux of it, why are you guys dying on this hill?
I can talk about why I'm dying on this hill.
Okay.
Because my wife, Abby, she loves to cook, is great at cooking, and chooses to do a lot of the cooking. And I want to do more of the cooking. But this and many other methods that I do are not up to her standards. So then I am not given, I don't get to do the cooking.
Oh.
And it's, wow.
And have you expressed this desire to want to literally do more around the house?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll give him that. He has.
Well, Abby, I'll tell you the underlying emotional childhood traumatic reason I don't cook is because my mom's the best cook in our family. And every time when I was little, when she was I would ask her to teach me. She'd be like, I'll just do it. And it created this inherent fear within me where I won't even, and this is so true, I won't even heat up a man's pizza because I'm like, what if I fuck it up? What if the crust is soggy? And so just based off the information we have now, I don't want to use the word emasculating because I don't think I'm someone that can use that word because I am not a man. But it sounds like you're kind of scaring him out of doing something that he's trying to do for the both of you. It's if he's going to make tacos, let him make it his way, because if you only like tacos your way, then it makes him feel like his tacos aren't good enough and they'll never be good enough, which translates to I'm not good enough to be in the kitchen and do stuff around the house and be a partner in this marriage.
That's a very good point. I do have a question though, Abby.
Yeah.
Have you tried Kurt's tacos? That's a serious question. You have?
Yes.
And what is your honest, do you like them?
Yes. Yeah.
But not as much as yours.
But hold on.
Right?
Yeah, but is it the objectively the taste of the tacos?
The taste is the same. It's the same meat that I use. It's
Okay.
the same. I
appreciate your honesty, but
it's totally a mental thing. And really, if he's the one who gets home first, and so then, he cooks because it's just more convenient that way, then it's more of make whatever you're going to make, however you're going to make it, and I'll come in when it's done. So I don't see how you made it. So
there's some control issues going on.
yeah.
What's really interesting though.
Did you just pick up on what she just said? She said when it's more convenient. How did that make you feel, Kurt?
Honestly, that part doesn't bother me because I like to help out. I like to be supportive around the house.
That's an act of service. Your partner wants to relax, and he's there to step up when they want to.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the bigger thing I think is when I think I'm doing the act of service, because that is something that's big for me, the act of service and words of affirmation. And I think I'm doing something really nice, and then it makes her more
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
What's to keep you from making it the way she wants it then? If the act of service is for Abby and the love, and this is all a love act.
We're because we're
right?
talking about two different. We're trying to combine two different things because there's. Yes, he could. You're truly to that point, but he also like doesn't want to be like he wants to help in the way he wants to help, and like it's also like tacos, and is my guess. But I do. It's well, when you were telling the story, Abby, I'm more you, especially in the kitchen. I'm more the cook than Natalie is. We like a lot of the same things. We cook a lot of the same things, like taco nights twice a week. So like creatures habit. And a lot of the dishes, it's like I'm a good cook and I'm really good at cooking the things I like. And so she likes the things I cook. And now like she like will help me prepare stuff. But I recognize that I'm a little bit of a taskmaster in the kitchen, and I have a certain way I like it done. And she likes it, and we both agree that we really like how I cook it. But there have been things where she will say, I want to do it this way, or she's done it this way. And I'll be like, oh, this is good. This is better. And I really don't care how we get to the destination. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about the journey as long as the destination's great. But you know, you do, Abby. And I empathize with you. In the moment, the first time, if Nelly was doing anything a certain way, and different than the way I prepare it, I'd be like, I need to leave because I know that would make Natalie feel, I would do to Natalie what your mom did to you in a way. I mean, I recognize that that presence of like watching, like you're going to critique their every fucking move. That's annoying. I mean, I would hate to, I know that I do that, but the fact that you could say the tacos taste essentially the same, and yet you're still willing to like, still want to maintain this control over this.
And I think it falls back to a control thing for me too, because it's like, well, I want my way to be a thing that we do and is good because we do so much of so many of the things her way, which I love and think are great. But then it's like, I do want to have like a couple things that are mine.
That you can own.
Do you feel like total transparency and honesty do you feel generally a general statement in the relationship is and I think you kind of just said it, but just want to clarify, you wish there were more things that you bring to the relationship that you've introduced and you guys as a couple, or you're doing it your way, and that she either enjoys or at a minimum respects that it's your stuff.
Yeah, that's totally it.
Kurt, would you be okay with one of those things not being the tacos and cooking tacos the way she likes, and maybe owning something else you guys can pass on to potential future children?
I gotta say though, it's possible, but like if Abby wanted to throw Kurt a bone, tacos would be a real easy one.
Well,
because
that's
they're
why I tried to
tacos
pick tacos.
and they're hard to fuck up.
But is it easy if you have to swap? I mean, do they really taste the same?
Tacos are hard to fuck. What's your protein?
Ground beef.
Hard to fuck up.
Well, it's up to Abby's taste buds if she likes.
She just said they're the same.
Okay, well, if they're the same.
I mean, it's really because he'll use the same seasoning as me. So, I mean, as long as it's the same.
It's solely when it gets added in the process.
Yeah, as long as we're using the same ratio of meat to seasoning, there's honestly really
Have you guys ever had a test? How fun would it be to like do it both ways, Kurt, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't this be fun when you come home, Abby, he makes it both ways and you decide which one's better, and then that's the one you guys make in that format or in that way moving forward.
I actually really like that. We should do that.
And Kurt could own that maybe.
Yeah.
A little blind taste test.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
And then you're spicing it up a little, you know.
Who
knows what could happen after?
It's fun.
I don't know if people get down after taco night. Is that a thing couples do?
We do.
The only problem,
Heartburn
City.
The only problem with that, though, is that are you competitive, Abby?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I don't think that's a problem.
Abby jumped on that a little too quickly,
I
and
think
I was like,
fun.
Yeah, it depends. It depends what the goal is. If the goal is to like compete, then yeah, fun. Which is why Abby jumped on all over it, because she sees the opportunity to win. And we're not looking to solve this particular problem. This problem is about Kurt feeling like he's bringing things. He wants to feel valued. It's a little bit of respect, I guess. And yeah, so I think that there's a potential. I think there's a potential problem with like having Kurt get his way be through this competition that Abby can still win.
I think Nick brings up a good point. We don't want to keep fostering this behavior to not come to a resolution.
I think there seems such a solvable problem because you recognize Abby that like, of course, do you recognize you're probably being slightly unreasonable, Abby?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and knowing that, and I'm with you, I can be that person sometimes. What do you think is the best idea to like make him not feel that way?
I think it's really just giving him full creative control, so to speak, over whether it's taco meat or something else, and just not being the one in charge of the kitchen. If he's helping out and cooking, then let him help out and cook. End of story.
Now, just out of curiosity, is that like why do you, I mean, because I feel like a lot of people would be listening and be like, she wants to help, you know? and you're just like, no, I want to do it. And I'm just wondering, like, what is it about that is what do you feel like inside that you're giving up by potentially letting him do that? Because clearly it's not about
the
tacos. There's something.
What are you losing
Yeah,
by
what are
letting
you
him
losing?
make it the other way?
I think it's because it's the kitchen. Like doing other things around the house, go for it, have fun. Like I don't really care, what he does or how he does it that much. But like if it's the kitchen and, generally we'll together kind of meal plan for the week, but most of the time it's me. So it's like, I already have the meal in my head. I know how I want to do it and all of those types of things. So it really comes down to the kitchen is more my domain just because I like to cook and bake.
Now, just to clarify, Kurt, is it, because I thought before, are there other areas where you feel like, is it true what Abby is saying that her dictatorship only reigns in the kitchen, or does it bleed into other areas where you feel like you like your opinion's not as quite as appreciated as you wish it would be sometimes?
I think for the most part, like it is mostly just in the kitchen, like occasionally doing some house cleaning, things like that. Outdoor stuff is all totally fine. That's all I can do pretty much whatever I want with backyard, front yard, taking care of the lawn. But like some cleaning things, because I kind of is the same way. I was never a soft scrub person cleaning bathrooms. I was a spray person, and
soft scrub's where it's at. Yeah.
See, we got married. I was like, I had never been a soft scrub person. She's like, no, you have to use soft scrub. And then I didn't know this led to me almost dying in our bathroom because I created a gas when I used the soft scrub and mixed it with something else.
Yeah, no.
I'm so more Abby in this situation because there's just simply a right way to do some things. And
I have heard that so many times.
But E for effort, Kurt, like you're trying, and you want to help. And so it seems like you guys are you're so close, It's like maybe it's just a matter of give and take a little.
We do a good job of splitting things 50-50. It's more of just those little bickering arguments of how to do it.
I think it is the give and take piece that you mentioned. And you were talking earlier, I don't think you've ever like really told me how like being in the kitchen makes you feel. Because that's like how I feel when I go and I watch my movies and play video games and whatnot. And that's like my escape, like putting it on that, like that's
exactly.
I don't think I'd ever heard you describe it like that.
That's so
and
helpful.
so that like changes completely how I'll do the tacos however you want if that's like what it comes down to.
We're just here to save marriages,
We just fucking mediated. I just want to acknowledge how beautiful it was to watch you recognize how she felt and you, Abby, sharing that and being open to changing your opinion in ways when it comes to tacos for Abby. That was really beautiful to witness. So thank you, both of you.
Yeah, I think I just thought it was like, this is the way I do it and not really thought into the reasons why it's the sticking point.
Well, that's what's interesting too, because the problem, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed like it all came from intention. you didn't realize her intention was something that meant something to her. It felt like she was minimizing your opinion or capabilities in a way where it's just like, it's almost like she didn't want your help because she didn't trust you to do it the right way. And I was like, what do you mean? I can fucking do it.
We personalize
Yeah.
so much in life.
Yeah.
And maybe, Abby, you didn't even know you felt that way until this moment. Sometimes we have
Let's
to
not
get
give
clear
ourselves too much
within,
credit, yeah.
within ourselves. No, I'm saying sometimes we got to get clear within ourselves, you know?
Well, hopefully was this helpful, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, this is really good. I didn't know what we were getting into this whole time.
Honestly, guys,
Abby-
we didn't either. We
Neither
just
did
started.
I.
I just started doing this. Yeah.
And I got roped
Yeah.
into this.
Because with our Abby, how did Abby? Was it your idea, or was it Kurt's?
Yeah, I follow you and listen to you. So yeah.
Yeah. So
she said
Abby
she was doing the.
on our Ask Nicks. It's a one-off, and it's more like I've been dating someone for 9 months and blah blah blah, or my husband. You know, it's always the one-sided, like long-form story. It's not.
Right.
It's not taco night. So
Taco night.
Right.
mediation. Thanks,
Great.
guys. Thanks so much.
Such a pleasure
thank
meeting
you,
you
guys.
guys.
Best of luck.
Yes.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.
To tacos.
To tacos.
God, I can't wait to be in a relationship and that be like my qualms in life, you know?
Happily married. He wants to do too much help. He wants to help too much in the kitchen.
I don't feel bad
What a
for
snake.
any of you
I know.
Did you guys have it, Allie and Amanda? Any?
as a single woman.
What
What?
did? Where did you guys stand on video game and Taco Gate?
Taco game.
Taco cake. Taco cake.
I can see more of like the Taco Gate perspectives on both sides, and I think that one was an easier perspective shifting. The video game one, I feel like I took more of her side.
You could probably relate to it. We can relate. to
Just in
that,
terms
yeah.
of, I also enjoy quality time. So if it was someone purposely, I understand needing some time with your guys, of course, but knowing then that it bleeds into the next day and then he's going to have to sleep, and it's just
In that individual situation,
mhm.
like he did more wrong. She didn't do anything wrong because she was sleeping. But in terms of how to address it going forward, they needed to both adjust equally,
Mhm.
Mhm.
is how I saw it. Because he should have ideally recognized, he should have known that she liked this. They've been dating for this long.
Mhm.
He said I would be there in 30 minutes. He should have known.
But true or false, guys, like some people lack the foresight. Like I remember when she said, like, and I feel this way all the time with friends, with everything, where I'm like, wouldn't you know? I'm always like, wouldn't you know that would cut into tomorrow? Like, because I'm always thinking a step ahead. And I think sometimes I need to check and remind myself that sometimes there are humans that lack the foresight and aren't really thinking about tomorrow and don't mean to ruin tomorrow and are just in the. What are your thoughts on that? As someone who's like in a relationship.
I think there's a little bit of that. I think you can blame it on that a little bit, but I think for the most part, everyone's capable of being like, how's this going to affect tomorrow? I don't know if they have the foresight to be like, how's this going to affect, my relationship as a whole?
Right.
I did this like TikTok about it, and it comes down like, I think people need to stop using the phrase the little things in relationships, especially when it
What do you
comes.
mean by that? What does that mean?
A lot of times, like, I only ask this for the little things.
Oh, do people
just-
say that?
All that you've never
You're
said
like-
that?
or
I don't
it's
have
the-
a lot of experience
It's
in
the
long
little
Or
term
sort
things.
of like it's the little things.
It's the little
when
things.
people talk
Yeah.
about like small like gestures of kindness, sort of describing those as
We-
like the little things. in
Fran-
life.
Absolutely.
Francesca Farrago was a guest, and she talked
Absolutely.
about she described acts of service as a love language, and some of those things were like, I just like it when he like holds my bag or gets me a glass of water.
It's
They
the little things.
they
yeah.
literally sound like very easy things to do for a partner.
Right.
And I think we've gotten a habit of identifying them as little things. And even though we have and we've all done this, all of us have done this.
Mhm.
And I think there's a price to be paid by describing as little things, because if you are someone who gives love through acts of service, not how you receive love, but your primary way of showing love is through acts of service. Like
Mhm.
myself, I am an acts of service guy. I've realized this, like I haven't had a girlfriend since like taking the love language test. Like, I mean, I guess like but like a real like healthy, you know, like Vanessa and I were just trying to survive through the bachelor world, but like being in hey, I have a relationship and it's going well and I have the time to think about my love language and, you know, and this is like the first one. And I realized that like, while I like quality time and I like physical touch, I give love through acts of service more. I think it's a significant number one. And so
is it because you like to get love through acts of service, or that's just
I haven't gone that far. I just know that's what I do and that's how I show it. And like, for example, like Natalie being a surgical tech she has surgeries in the morning, you know? And so when she works, it's like she's up at like 5:45, 6. Now I usually wake up early, like 6:30, 7, but that extra 30 minutes is not normally when I get up. And so when she has to go work, I get up with her to make her coffee, feed the dog so she can sleep a little bit longer. I warm up her car. It's LA winter, it's not that cold, but I start her car, and so she can sleep a little bit longer. I make her coffee and, you know, like pack her lunch again.
I love that.
I'm like, here you go. Like,
I love all this.
And it's just it's a little thing. But when we classify them as little things in relationships, I think subconsciously it has a way of like minimizing its effect. It's a fine line. We can take it for granted. Like if in bed, I've always done this with any girlfriend I've ever had. Like it always starts to say, it's like, babe, I'm thirsty. And I'm like, oh, I got you. Like no woman that I'm dating is gonna have to get out of bed. Like you're comfortable. I'll go get you water. Like I will slay that dragon. And, and then at some point it's like down the road, a year in, I'm thirsty. And they just look over at me. And I'm just like,
you're the water boy now.
Yeah, I become the water boy, you know? And I think sometimes when we call it the little things, it implies that just becomes, that's the thing you do. It becomes the job, not the act of service. You like steal that act of service away from the person who is doing those things to try to show you love, not to like get you water. They're literally trying to show you love.
So you're saying we should call it like bigger things?
I don't know.
Well, it's interesting because
it's just a little thing we do.
I think it's interesting because I think the origin of it, in calling it little things, it's meant to call attention to someone being really thoughtful. Like it's not big glaring things. It's them going out of their way to discover small things, or not small things, but things that could be easily overlooked, and taking it upon themselves to identify those things and show up for a partner in that way. So it's like almost in the origin story, I think it's meant to be complimentary as a little thing, but it's become almost diminishing in the sense of like, it's just little.
Yeah. That we shouldn't think of it in a diminishing manner. It should be thought of as more than
and I agree. We don't even mean to. We're not even trying to diminish it. We're just like, I think our hey, if you call something little or small, the point of us saying little or small is that like, I'm not asking for much. You know, in relationships, we're always like, even whether we're aware or like our subconscious, we don't want to ask too much. We don't want to be, I'm so hard to date because I ask so much.
I'm needy.
I'm needy. I have these great expectations, you know, like I'm not. And so we call them little things, you know, and
I
then,
agree with you.
And all of a sudden it's just like, I just only ask for little things. And meanwhile, at no point does that partner who's doing all these little things feels like they've done anything for you to make you feel love. And the next thing you know, you're like, well, when's the last time you got me anything? And I'm not saying just because someone does acts of service, because there's how you give love and how you receive love. So just because I'm an acts of service guy, I still have to step up in other areas that aren't as natural because Natalie feels love that way, right? But like, I would hate that to be stolen from me, that ability to show her love. And sometimes it's a matter of just letting that person know.
That's your love language, or that's how you give love. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on, Nick. I think words are really important and we need to pay attention to how we say words. And I wonder if we called it like the loving things, how different people would treat it. I think words are really important. I think I like that you have made that observation.
Calling it the little things is a slippery slope.
Because it's not a little thing. It means a lot.
And like the precision of words, because it goes back to what you were saying about like all we have is our word. So even though it seems like, oh, it's not a big deal. I said I would be there in 30 minutes and I was actually there later. It's like those small details that can have such a big impact because I think so much of a relationship is feeling seen and understood.
Mhm.
And those small miscalculations can really create a divide there.
100%. I think in my personal love journey, like all I've ever wanted more, because I think anyone can feel or make someone feel loved. And I am just dying to really feel understood. And I think that's really under what a lot of people want is we just want to feel understood. I think more so than loved sometimes.
Sure. How much do you feel like you totally understand yourself?
And I love that you asked that question. I'm getting there. But I think you have to really know yourself, right? To expect someone else to understand who you are. So I think that's great that you brought that up.
Because I've always, I think we all do, but it's just like, I don't know if people like get me, you know?
Mhm.
I don't feel understood.
But do
and
you
then
get yourself?
I've still, I mean, there in the past couple of years,
Mhm.
I guess even like, you know, you don't have a relationship for a long time, then you get a girlfriend, your perspective changes.
Mm.
And there have been things I've realized about myself in the past year or two where it's just like, well, of course no one got me. I wasn't seeing how it was being perceived.
Mm.
They didn't get me, but like, I guess I didn't get of course that would annoy me or annoy someone else.
Mhm.
And so it's becoming aware of your expectations or just accepting
Who you
for,
are.
for me, it's sometimes we want to, we have to accept that people are going to appreciate certain things about us because there are strengths and then
Yeah.
there are weaknesses. And it'd be nice for people to appreciate those things about us too. But like,
Or
but that
understand it.
might not be who we are.
Right.
Well, Naz, thanks. 2 days in a row.
I mean, double whammy.
Uh,
I'm so stoked. Thank you
I
for
hope people
having me,
enjoy
man.
this new mediation. It's good, just up for expectations. Well, let us know what you think about it first and foremost. We'll probably just do one per episode. We did 2 as a kickoff. So
Also, can I just say I'm like not a licensed therapist or like
Yeah,
in
we-
any way.
You could have
Like,
fooled us.
also, like, please take everything I say with a grain of salt. I don't know what the hell
we
I'm
set that
talking about.
expectation with our audience. All
I
the time,
also
but
have
that's
not
good.
been in many long-term relationships. Therefore, I am the blind leading the blind, as Samantha Jones has said on Sex and the City.
Yeah.
Probably should have said that before.
Don't worry.
But
We
that is who I am.
my audience knows I'm not an expert.
Okay.
And unless we deem him as such, it's assumed we're not. Remind the people where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm at Naz Perez on Instagram, and I run a support group for people that are heartbroken called Heartbroken Anonymous. And we run virtual meetings, in-person meetings in LA, virtual for people that live all around the world. And you can go to heartbrokenanonymous.com to join. And it's just a place you can come and share stories of heartbreak to remind yourself you're not alone.
Amazing. Don't forget to send in your questions and your fights at asknickcastme.com, cast with a K. I hope you guys enjoyed this new segment. We're going to play around with the kind of structure of the show. Maybe you guys fucking hate it. I don't know. But it's something I think we want to do at the tail end of our Wednesday's episodes with our guests. So the format won't sound exactly like it did this episode, but some version of it. And either way, send in those questions for Ask Nick episode. And if you are in a fight with a friend or a partner
Or
or a
your
coworker, I don't know if you can get your can you get your coworker? The idea is we want both of you. We need the mediation.
Allie and I are going to
Let's
call
just
in.
stage a fight.
Anyway, thanks for listening. That's it. I think that's it. Next week, Morgan Cohen. More recapping of The Batch. Ask Nick on Monday. Thanks for listening, guys. Peace. Hey guys, thanks for watching, but before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos like our Mondays Ask Nick for your favorite relationship stories and advice, and our Tuesday Bachelor recaps. See you next time.